Three, two, one.
Hello, welcome back to the GODFOE Universe podcast. This is your host and co-creator of the GODFOE Universe, Joshua Adams, here as always with co-creator Daniel Evans. Dan, how's your week been?
It hasn't been bad. It's way better than first of all, it's fall. It's my favorite time of the year, and
Amen, dude.
it's the
It
only
feels
time
so
I like.
good.
Yeah, it's the only time I like being outside. So my
Uh,
all of my health goes up in the fall, and then of course because of the state we live in, fall lasts for 6 weeks. We have summer,
yeah,
summer
dude.
two, return of summer, fall, and then winter.
Yeah, dude. The weather has been just gorgeous. It's wonderful. I agree. It's my favorite time of the year. It
Yeah.
gives me life, and
It's
then winter comes in and takes it away.
My favorite fall memories are when I went to college for the first time on a scholarship that I lost, and I didn't go to class because it was like 8 a.m. Psychology, and it was in a stadium or whatever auditorium. So it was like I
I
went.
had that
Yeah.
same class in that same room. I know what you're
Yeah.
talking about.
The only reason I even went occasionally was because the grad student that took attendance was hot. So
Fair enough.
that's the only time I went. But I would try to go to that, and then I had nothing but English classes afterward because I was going to major in English at first. And it was such a joke after the first week. Dude, I bought I don't think it was Siamese Dream. I think it was Rotten Apples, like the self-made Smashing Pumpkins greatest hits. Like they picked it. It wasn't like a company produced it.
Right. I've got that one. I've still got that CD
And
rattling around somewhere in my car.
and it's a fantastic CD. And
It's in my car that doesn't have a CD player.
I would just I would play that. I would drive all the way to school, and then I would roll down the windows because it was fall, and I would lay back the seat of my truck, and I would just listen to that whole record, and I would do that from 8 to 2, and then I go to work. So that was my college education for the first semester before I failed out.
Fair enough, man. Man, I'd get inspired by the most random things, but we were visiting family over the weekend, and we stopped at the Tanger Outlets in Charleston, and they have one of those retro game stores.
Yeah.
And the one that they have, it's a good store. They have a lot of old games and stuff, but they also have a lot of anime stuff and figures and things. And they had a life-size, very super realistic Vegeta statue.
Yeah.
And dude, it was the coolest thing I've seen in a while. I was like, dang, that's really cool. I want to do something. I want to create something that's as cool as that.
So a realistic life size Vegeta statue, was it laying in what's the word I'm looking for? Like when an asteroid hits?
I have no idea.
A crater. Was it?
Nah, he was
was it bruised and beaten in a crater?
Nah, he was he was going Saiyan. It was dope. It was really cool.
He was about to lose and get saved by Goku.
But it was cool, and they had a lot of really cool statues. One of them was Sephiroth from Final Fantasy VII, and he had the one black angel wing and all. Oh, it's just seeing cool visual stuff like that makes me excited that cool stuff exists still.
Did you get an Eminem blast?
Eminem blast, my favorite. For anybody who doesn't know, that's the video. There's a video that I shouldn't think it's funny.
I'm laughing because I know how you're going to describe this.
It's a bad thing to make to think it's funny, but it's it's like this car ride. This lady's got 3 kids in the back seat that are all. Oh God, Dan, help me!
They're morbidly obese.
These pitiful, fat little.
Yeah, they look like your cousins, like anybody's cousins.
Yeah, there's definitely somewhere on the spectrum, and like it shouldn't be funny. But she took him to Sonic, and she's like, "Oh, what you get back there?" And, oh, I got a hot dog, or I got a chili dog with tater tots. She's like, "Oh, that sounds good." And then there's a girl in the corner, and you're not. I'm just. It kills me every time I see it because you're not expecting the voice of a Muppet to come out of this kid. And like he gets to her, she's like, "I got him in blast. It's my favorite." And I do. South Park could not have written this and made it funnier than it is in real life. So Dan knows like it's my kryptonite. Like this is the reason I'm a terrible person is that I laugh at videos like this.
Laughing at children.
It's my favorite.
I'm glad. I wish Spencer was here. If you guys haven't, go look at the video we did with Spencer Selman of Swamp Fox Jiu-Jitsu when we talked about Godzilla, because it'll crack you up. There's like a million things to laugh at, and like watch it and then imagine him responding to that video.
Dude, I should send him that one. I don't think I sent him a bunch, but I don't think I sent him that one.
You should.
I need to send him that one. All right, so
yeah, we had a talk.
Let's get to the topic.
Yeah, the internet sucks.
Yep. Oh, like this, yeah, this just in addition to everything else that sucks, the internet also is terrible.
Yeah.
So like we've been discussing lately just how much the internet, like it's so cultivated and like curated now.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have you don't have those really cool, passionate nerd sites anymore.
Yeah, dedicated sites.
And like, yeah, and it just, you used to be able to put in anything into a search engine, the most random thing, something that you thought you were the only person that even knew it existed, and you would find a website that some nerd somewhere spent hours and hours of their life pouring all this information and pictures and stuff into.
Mm-hmm.
And like it was always these rabbit holes that you could go down for hours at a time, and it seemed bottomless. And the internet was full of that stuff. I mean, it's like back when the internet was like the Wild West. We miss that stuff. And so like we've been discussing how within GODFOE universe, within all these things we're creating, how can we create a space that feels like that?
Mm-hmm.
That's not like this super curated, tied back in all the same. You get the same 5 search results, no matter what you put in, no matter how much you try to coax something more out of the search engine. You can't find anything worth looking at. So, Dan, his end of things is a lot more on the technical side of the like our websites, our web presence and stuff. He designs a lot of that. So like Dan, you want to kind of share like your approach to how do we create a web presence that's not just another boring Facebook page or just a pointless here buy our stuff.
Yeah, and those are the two things. Is the internet has basically been consolidated into like 3 websites. And I get it, because social media is a brilliant idea, of course, because it's the biggest profit engineering thing on the planet right now, because people like to be connected. People like to talk. But like you said, what used to be kind of like niche communities is now everybody spouting their stupid opinion on anything. And that's fine, whatever, that's fun to do. It's fun to make people mad. I enjoy it profusely. But
it's your favorite.
But we wanted to create kind of like those fan sites used to be, but do it for ourselves and for people who like our stuff, like for fans in general. And the way I see it is, you want to make a site that people like to go to, and we wanted to share like a site that links to our influences and things that we think are cool, without making it a Substack or a Patreon. Let me circle back to that. And also to do something that that's so big that it's self-referential. as well. So it's
Mhm.
kind of like its own wiki um, as well, so that it would be a rabbit hole of things to chase. Like, I don't know, I just remember being like a kid and you go to like Marvel.com or DC and you could like just read for hours on characters that you've never seen before and stuff like that. And but even that was
Well, I
just like
know.
an encyclopedia. It wasn't engaging.
I think my favorite website that I spent quite a long time, just like I checked it every day, multiple times a day, was back during like the first 2 or 3 seasons of Lost. There was a site that was just a Lost forum, and it was the numbers, the 4, 8, 15, 16, 23, 42, or whatever it was. Those it was the numbers at .com, and it was a forum, and it had a lot of different like sections in it of theories or and I would go in there and you had certain members of that forum that really put incredible amounts of time into their posts. So you would look forward to getting a post from one of these people
Hmm.
anytime a new episode would air that had like a big reveal or a big new mystery. They would connect. They were better at writing Lost than the actual creators of the show were.
Yeah, that happens a
So
lot.
they would connect. They would be bringing up all these like connections to ancient texts, and they bring in mythology, and they bring in
Hmm.
all this science stuff,
The
and
esoteric
you'd
ideas.
have this, yeah, and you had this incredible work that they spent hours and hours and hours researching, and it would be hyperlinked to other things to go look at yourself. And then somebody would bring up this obscure book that nobody's ever heard of that it was a reference to, and then I would go out and read that book
Hmm.
and come back and it was ever growing.
Hmm.
And every time you'd get like a really cool new development on the show, like the biggest one, and I don't know how many of y'all listening actually watched the show, but at near the beginning of season 2, because Dan, did you watch Lost at
No,
all?
no.
Okay, all right. Well, in Lost, at the end of the first season, they opened up. There's this hatch on the island that they had found. It had this beam of light coming up through a window in it. They blew it open at the end of season 1. Season 2 is when they first go in there. And like early in season 2, there's this moment where one of the characters accidentally triggers this thing, and all the lights go out, and this blast door closes and traps him. It closes on his legs, and in the middle of all that chaos, for like just a few seconds, a black light went on, and you saw this black light map of the island with all kinds of different like crazy symbols and stuff on it. It was only there for like the shortest amount of time. And did I remember spending months with us all just on there theorizing, what does this mean? What does this mean? How does it? It was so interesting. It was way better than the show itself ended up
Yeah.
being. Like
It turns
the
out it's all purgatory.
experience, the ending was terrible, but the experience of that website was
Hmm.
one of the best like fandom experiences of my entire life. In fact, I've never seen anything that I enjoyed as much and I was as engaged by as
Hmm.
the fan community around
Hmm.
that show and in that website. And you
Yeah.
can't find things like that anymore.
Hmm. I think
That's not
yeah,
Reddit is
things
not like that. Reddit,
no.
4chan are not like that.
No, and the route will go down is Discord, because Discord is like that for a lot of
Mm-hmm.
fandoms. But what we like to do is bridge the gap between media and the fandom, because Discords are kind of built around fandoms that are, things that are over here that you see on TV or you watch or listen to or something, or in some cases, like in the very weirder parasocial relationship stuff, like a Twitch streamer in their Discord or something. Um, we want to create like a website, or more than just a website, but a living art um, idea
Mm.
that is consistently updated, and it's as long as we're alive. And we've already gotten pretty good at it in multimedia. So it would be everything from videos to comics to novels and all this kind of stuff. And we already are doing that with like the launch of our first graphic novel, Apollyon 20XX Live Not by Lies, which is coming out very soon. And we already started the idea of short films within that era. But of course, we have multiple eras in the GODFOE universe. It's this, big giant story, different times, eras where things happen, and those eras are going to be alive and moving and consistently updated. And one website, or first of all, you and I are both old enough to remember the Blair Witch Project.
I was
And
going to bring that up. I'm glad that's where you're going with this.
yeah, we'll circle back to that. But then I always forget the name of it. It's like SCP or whatever, like the website with the cryptids.
Mm-hmm.
What's the
SCP.
SCP? And it shoot off. I think Marble Hornets was a shoot off of that with Slender Man and all that
I
kind
know.
of stuff.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't remember if those two were connected at all. But
Yeah,
Marble Hornets was built around
Marble Hornets may have come
the
from
Slender Man.
Marble Hornets may have come from Creepypasta, I think. But
Yeah,
Creepypasta,
yeah.
Creepypasta was another thing like SCP. I think you can probably explain Blair Witch Project and SCP better than I can. But I remember tangentially kind of being into those things. Like I was already making art at that point. I think I started seeing those things when I was like in my early 20s, and I was already like obsessed with doing my own thing and watching anime. but
well,
yeah.
let's pitch a tent there for just a second, because like SCP, this SCP Foundation, I would go look at it every once in a while. I'm like, yeah, I knew about it. I wasn't like obsessive about it. What I do really remember being a part of, I remember like the beginning of the Slender Man thing, because it popped up on Something Rotten, not something awful. Something awful was a website.
Rotten.com was the other one.
Yeah, that was Something Awful was this website. And I remember at Halloween, or around Halloween one year, they had a Photoshop contest. And the whole idea was to create a new urban legend, a new scary urban legend, and everybody put in a lot of things. Well, this one guy, and I want to say his name was maybe something like Johnny Nothing or something like, I can't remember his screen name, but he put up two pictures that were the basis of the Slender Man thing. And they were brilliant pictures. One of them was of a children's playground, and there was like a slide and swing set, and there were kids playing, and there was this guy, kind of a shadowy guy, standing there. You couldn't really see his face, but one of his arms was turning into tentacles, and it was pretty subtle. It was genuinely scary. And then there was another one of a college, university, and a bunch of students running away, and in the background, a tall, blurry, faceless man in a suit. And it just took off. And like within a month, there were like hundreds of these pictures that everybody attached themselves to his idea and just kept making more of them. And then along with those pictures came all these stories, right? And everybody would come in and say, this was my experience with the Slender Man. And so this mythos built up around him organically and really quickly, and became this viral sensation. And within a year, you had that case where the two girls had killed or tried to kill their friend as a sacrifice to Slender Man. You had the game Slender had come out that was like this little indie horror game. And, it's taken on such a life of its own now. But, Marble Hornets came out, started making this long form serialized show on YouTube. And now eventually there was a movie and all this stuff. And now he's just a part of the mythos and part of the zeitgeist. But the fact that you had a website that could generate something so incredibly powerful just off of the basis of people being able to have a creative space to be challenged and to create together.
Yeah.
In that organic way was so cool. And like you mentioned the Blair Witch, like when that movie came out, that was in the early days of internet. That was, I remember that was when I had just like gotten our first like home computer, and it was slow as all get out, and it was dial up, but like when that movie came out, it was the first movie that I remember that did any kind of internet viral type of, ARG or whatever. And I remember like everybody thought it was real.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that
Like
believed it.
Yeah, when it first came out, because I know Sci-Fi Channel even aired a documentary that they said was, and they didn't say, "Oh, it's a mock." They aired it as though it were a real documentary that was right kind of before that movie came out. And like when it first came out into the theaters, up until the point that those actors actually showed up on a talk show to say, "Hey, we're actually alive and we're not," it's not like the internet had gone nuts, and there were sites everywhere that were just devoted to trying to figure out the truth behind this Blair Witch Project. And it was so easy to get caught up in that. So I was one of those. I saw that movie early, and I remember like watching it now. You like if you in 2023, if you've never seen the Blair Witch Project, you sit down and watch it now, you're going to think, what in the world is the fuss all about? There's nothing to this.
All that kind of stuff.
Everything about it's bad. It's poorly made. It's. But if you were sitting in that theater back in the 90s when you thought that was real, dude, that movie scared the living daylights out of me, because I had already been like hunting down everything I could possibly find about the Blair Witch online before I went.
Yeah.
And that movie was terrifying when you thought it was real.
And it was that's the thing, it was a wonderful test and proof of like building an idea, because so much of them, like no money went to making that film, but so much went into marketing it, and it got it back in profit because of that, because it mastered like it just sold an idea and people went for it, and to this day it's still cool because of that. Like you can still watch it and enjoy it, and it's still got its creepy elements, particularly the ending, you know.
Well, and you also, and I think I let you borrow maybe the D.A. Stearns.
I bought it off eBay.
Yeah. That's right. You bought your own copy. Yeah, there was a Blair Witch case file book that came out.
Yeah, dossier.
Dossier, and it had like emails and all this stuff. It made it like from private investigators. It fleshed out the mythos and the history and all, and it did it in that it's like found footage in written form, and
it
was so compelling. Yes, the dossier is scarier than the movie.
Yeah, it's still creepy. I have it. I haven't finished it. But
you want to tell the story about hiding that book?
Oh yeah, because my wife's like friend from church came over, and I was like, I can't have this like laying out, like, because I had that and like I don't know, several other very strange or esoteric ones I had just purchased, and like they were all like laying there together. Like, she's gonna think this is the part of the horror movie where she sees that and it's like, oh, there's something off about them, and then later you realize like there was something. Yeah, she was like an older lady too, so.
Well, can I say like what your wife actually said or no?
I don't even remember, so that's funny.
So Dan told me, he's like, man, I had the Blair Witch dossier out. He's like, and I went and like I was going to read it, and it wasn't there anymore. So he asked his wife, he's like, where's my book? She said, oh, I hid it. He said, why? She said, I've got a friend coming over, and I don't want her to see it. He's like, why? It's just a book. She's like, well, she loves Jesus. He's like, I love Jesus.
I forgot about that.
Because she loves Jesus. Well, I love Jesus.
I forgot about that.
But not to get back on track though. People are just as passionate about fandoms now as they ever were. You can see that just by looking at the cosplay community. Just how like rabid conventions are, and those fans are they're so hungry for opportunity to interact with, engage with, and carve out their own little piece of their fandom. The internet doesn't offer that anymore, not in the way that it used to.
Yeah, so it exists. It kind of exists in like a different way. It doesn't. to me, it doesn't bridge living art. And the creators and the makers of it with fandom and people who are interested in it, it seems to like there's levels of separation. Like I said, outside of like weird parasocial streaming things, but um, because I mean, it's this. It used to be like, especially stuff like you type in like, can Goku beat Superman? You would go to like different forums like Comics Vines or something like that, and you'd have 30 pages like a thread of a
Right.
debate.
Right.
Yeah, and what we want to do, like I said, and that is just really go full head into that from multiple media, from multiple eras, which are different genres basically, and time sets, and have them all living, all active, all the time, especially in these mediums that have never done it before, like comics and short films and stuff like that. Like,
Mhm.
when's the last time like an actual like comic or short film creator or novelist interacted with fans on that level? I think maybe Brandon Sanderson
Right.
is like the closest. Um,
Well, and even with him, it's more a matter of saying, "Hey, I've got stuff coming out. Do you want to be signed up to get it first?" It's still not
yeah,
interactive per se, And even like you, it used to be a time when fan films and stuff had a lot more opportunity, but now a lot of companies will shut down a fan operation pretty quickly.
yeah. Well, and
Like they don't want you to make
Lucasfilm
fan films.
basically floated fan films for like 30 years because they from day one said we don't care, encouraged it.
Yep.
Disney
Yep.
doesn't. I don't think does not encourage it. But what makes it different is what we're trying to do is we want to have that massive breadth and massive interaction. Basically, we want to create and become a new era of internet artists, and that's a big bold statement. But it's because so much of it is dedicated towards money. Like, here's the thing, man. Everybody's got to make money, and you want to do art full time. But the reason we chose to start at least this project now with our own website, which I'm going to get into, is because I looked at Patreon and I looked at Kickstarter, not Kickstarter, Substack, and that kind of stuff, and
Yeah. Substack.
they're just not. To me, they let you put content up, which is cool, but the customization and the feeling isn't there. Of the thing we've been talking about the whole time, like remember people used to make like fan websites that had like Easter eggs and stuff in them, and it was just like rabbit.
Yep.
It was things you would spend hours on. That's the kind of stuff we want to get into, and self-referential. Even when it leads to something outside of the universe, it is referential in that it's something that inspired it, or
Right.
even something that disagrees with parts of it. Like they're just creating an ecosystem of not even entertainment, but of interest in art. And it's a big task, but I mean, I don't know what else to do. I mean, it's basically looking at the indie scenes and like people either competing for stupid awards, or they're competing against each other, or they're trying to just make money. And even the ones that are kind of doing art, it's like one thing. It's like, okay, a comic, okay, graphic novel or something. No one is expanding to this really kind of big, massive, cool idea of creating their own fandom, their own
Right.
universe. So, like I said, it's a big goal, but here, let me show you what we're working on so far. I can only show like the iceberg, the tip of the iceberg, because I don't want to give too much. But here's the what were you saying?
Just the tip.
Yeah, I figured that was. So if you guys go to godfoeuniverse.com, which I'm sure some of you have because I can track some of the traffic. This is your opening homepage, which kind of gives a rundown of stuff that's coming out or has come out. But check like something like this, like Apollyon 20XX. I mean, we're gonna do this. We're gonna start showing out or showing off and breaking down the eras, and I'm gonna find a way to do that kind of creatively. Again, that's why I didn't really want to go with Patreon and Substack, even though you can get money, like almost free money from that because people have to pay to view it. Um, so like right now, if you go to Apollyon 20XX, you'll see some of the writings, like the Lamentations. You'll see the Revelations, which are almost done. like they're very, very, very close. They'll be done by the time that the book comes out, if not before. And that's just expounding upon this in-world writings and ideas and thoughts that expand upon the comics, and they're pretty dense. Like this one's 80 pages. This one's going to be, I think, 50 or something like that. And this one, the Revelations, is a lot more text, solidified than the Lamentations, but they're both great. And
Yeah,
then
the
with
Lamentations have a lot of really cool imagery involved in them too. They're
yeah,
like they are text, but they're also it's like it very much is an art project of
mm-hmm,
sorts. Um, it's a really cool thing. It's like it's kind of they remind me of like when you'd play through the old Silent Hill games and you'd come across like a secret book and then you could go deeper and deeper into it.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really kind of how it feels to me, and it's just got such a cool tone to it.
That's the kind of thing, man. The biggest thing is to
Man,
not be
it's really neat.
the biggest thing to me is to not be so meta like everything is, but to be escapist, because so many, like, that's what I crave, and I think a lot of people crave is escapism, because that's what art is
Mm.
supposed to be. And like when you said Silent Hill, I mean, just the name of that game still scares me, just because the memories associated with Silent Hill, it terrified me as a kid, you know. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, that's the kind of thing I want people to be able to go into and glean something, and really just kind of get lost in it. So that's an idea of the Lamentations, and then within it. Oh, I'm sorry. That's fine. Scroll down. Like, this is the Tide. This is our first short film within the Apollyon 20XX era, and we're gonna have more. I think even this year we're gonna, by the end of the year, we're gonna film some more. We just need to get up with Colin, who's our photographer and videographer, and if you haven't seen his stuff, you can check him out. Colin Finlayson. I believe I have his stuff in our description, but I'll make sure you do. But
Hmm.
fantastic
Incredibly
photographer.
talented dude with
Yeah,
a camera.
unbelievably talented. And then we got a blog down here, the Road to Apollyon 20XX, which is our personal thoughts as we were making things, and all of this is active, all of this is live, and will stay for quite some time. And this is just one era. This is the first era, and we're kind of using it as a test for how we want to do these kinds of things. And I mean, it's only going to get bigger. And then when Biophile Cargo
Right.
comes out and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Like what you'll see is like you follow this site, you're keeping up with what is happening, and then there'll come a day when up in that search bar there's going to be a bar that it's going to say Biophile era
Mm-hmm.
or Time of the Great
The
Kings
Black Star.
or
Yeah.
the Black Star, Reign of June, and all these parts of our timeline are going to have this same kind of setup that's so full of things you can chase, rabbits you can chase.
Mm-hmm. Stuff like that. I didn't mean to play the sound, but I can't control it from there. But yeah, and like I said, it might even just be like, it might just say eras right here, and then you click that, and it takes you to a page where there's like 5 to 10 different eras to go down, and each one is its own rabbit hole.
Right. And then I know you'll go to it. We got the music up there,
Mm-hmm. There's an album
and there's a
from
lot
this
coming
coming
out
out.
from that.
Yeah, there's at least an album coming out from this, and an album coming out from this very soon. This one's done; it's just being mixed. This one is in the process of being recorded, but it won't take very long. The blog is the same thing, the Road to Apollyon 20XX. But see, that is just the Apollyon 20XX blog, and then each era will have its own, which is our thoughts as we make it and go through it.
And in the very, very near future, the first chapter of Live Not by Lies, which is our first volume of Apollyon 20XX, that first chapter, if I was going to be available to read.
Yeah, we're gonna do it digitally, the whole thing, just up here on the site, and of course the physical you'll be able to purchase. But I mean, that's gonna be what, like 200 pages, something ridiculous, Josh?
Close,
Yeah.
right at it. Yeah, right at it. And, but yeah, the first chapter, I think, is 30 something pages. We're going to make that available to anybody.
Mm-hmm. You can just come up here and read it.
And yeah, just come read the first chapter and hope, I don't think anybody's going to read that and not want to find out what happens next.
And then the YouTube, which will be syncing with the site, of course. We have our podcast, which you're listening to right now. our weekly one, we're going to have an in-world podcast called ZZ. And that is kind of a guy, it's kind of like an Alex Jones type figure who is gathering info on the bad guys, the Order, from Apollyon 20XX, this era. And he's reading those out, and and that's gonna be cool. We're gonna have some other stuff that comes out through there as well. We're gonna have some lore videos like this here from Lore Master Hans as he explains the different
Five
eras.
fantasy epic that takes place over.
That's him explaining the GODFOE universe.
We need to understand exactly.
So we're just creating an entire thing here, and we're gonna have more than that. But we're creating. I mean, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but we're creating an almost unmatched universe of indie media. It's not an aggregate of multiple people. It's like two creators creating a universe. I don't mind saying that it's the most ambitious art project I ever could have imagined being a part of, and I'm so happy that we have people who want to be a part of it. And guys like Colin.
And that's another thing too. If you're listening and you're an artist, and you're an artist that actually is willing to put in work and time, and you want to be a part of this, we've got stuff written that we can put you on today if you're willing to genuinely come on board with the same passion and drive that we expect of ourselves. Contact us. We will put you on a book. We have stuff that I can only do so much art at one time. So there's only so much drawing I can do. But if you want to be a part of this, we're willing to let you be a part of this.
We will
and, we've mentioned it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've mentioned it many times before.
GODFOE Publishing. Like, we've mentioned it.
Eventually, there will be a hub within that website for in-world fan fiction. And as long as it matches, as long as it fits with our criteria, it'll be canon to our world, which means something you create, a character maybe that you create, could show up in one of our books because we're canonizing everything that fits within our criteria.
Yep. And the eras are all going to connect within like the site, whether we stick with the current site or we go to a different one. We're going to have this idea of self-referential ideas. Like, you can read about, let's say, in Pyrametal from Apollyon 20XX, you can read about what people thought of it in different eras as it changes and grows, or anything like that. Or you can see, like, what did someone in this era think of this era? What did they know? You see what I'm saying? Like, there's this, and that's what's so great about doing a massive timeline like we're doing, is that a concept changes over time, and it becomes a history of itself, so it's not just what happened here. It's the after effects of it.
Well, you can look at this world from the same way you would our actual physical world. There's archaeologists, there's philosophy, there's religion and theology, there's science and biology. There's all this stuff that you can study in world that would exist in our actual world. There's a element of that in all of these other eras that our characters are going to be interacting with. It fascinates me endlessly, and we are creators of it, and it fascinates me endlessly. I think about it at night instead of sleeping.
And that's what's so cool and different about it is, I don't know. There's nothing like it right now. There's not gonna be. I really think we can pull something off that's gonna just make people. Well, like I said, the reason we literally, this isn't, again, patting on something. I would rather sacrifice money from Patreon and Substack to make something cool and make something that is a wormhole and feels cool aesthetically. I'd rather it be cool than make me money. And we might do.
And we don't want to be gatekeepers of it. Like, obviously, like the books, the comics, the graphic novels, the novels, CDs or whatever, albums, things, that stuff, of course, we're going to make you available for purchase because, I mean, we have to be able to make a living, and ideally one day this is our career, is this. But this website, it's not behind a paywall. And that's just us showing. That's a matter of good faith.
Yeah, and we eventually might make something that is more exclusive, particularly if we're working with an outside, or not like drawing artist, but like an outside artist who we're collaborating with for something cool, and we're helping them make money too. I could see us doing a Patreon or a Substack later, for bigger
Mm-hmm.
things, like when we do like we're doing like a short film that's gonna be bigger called The Holloman, that might require more investment and stuff. But we wanted like a really cool baseline for everybody to come in, and we wanted to supersede just YouTube. 'Cause, like, that's what gets on my nerves. Like YouTube in particular has just commodified art to such a terrible idea. Like there's so many musicians that write music for YouTube or perform for YouTube, and there's so many artists that do art for YouTube for that algorithm. I refuse to be a slave to an algorithm. That's the thing. Like I know, I'm not going to use his name, but I know a very talented musician, but all he does is like YouTube covers, and this guy can play any instrument. And I mean, I'm not doing that. Like, more power to him. He's great. He's talented, and all I'll do is praise him. But like for me, I can't do that. And even the people I like that I follow on YouTube, a lot of even the most successful people on YouTube, Twitch, whatever, they just react, and it's not the lame, old kind of reaction videos, but it's them consuming media that someone else made, and you're getting their opinion on it. That's not art.
Right.
That's content. And I'm not trying to gripe here, but I mean, especially the indie comic scene. If it's not like sexualized cheesecake art, then it's like a rehash of like not Todd McFarlane or something, or not manga.
Right.
I There's not a lot of actual creativity, and
Right.
I'll plant a flag there. I will plant a flag and say that. And the same thing with music. I mean, you and I are both musicians first, and music, everything happens in music before it happens in any other art form first. And you could write, tomes about the crappy bands you played with, that that were guys that were super talented, but played generic, crap they thought would get them signed or something.
Right.
Rant over, but we're just, man, we either have like a punk idea and aesthetic, or you don't. And
Right.
yeah,
And to be fair, we're gonna put our money where our mouth is. We already have. Like we've already invested in this in more ways than just financially, but we have poured our heart and soul into this for a long time, and we're about to be able to show you really what we've produced here.
mm-hmm.
Next month, by next month, I think we can safely say pre-sales will be starting next month for the novel, graphic novel. I mean, it's going to. We're gonna make that happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, like by next month, you will be reading the first chapter on that webpage, along with all this other stuff we've shown you tonight. You're gonna have the first chapter of the comic, and you're gonna have an opportunity to buy in.
Mm-hmm.
And we ask you even right now, go ahead and go to the website, GODFOEuniverse.com. Look at what we've got already on there.
Mm-hmm.
Start going down that rabbit hole now. And then when the book comes out, you're going to have so much of a foundation in that world that the book is going to be so enriching and so enriched by the website.
And that's just the first part of the first era.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And then we've got an entire novel that's already done, like a 90,000
Mm-hmm.
word, 300-page novel. That's part of it too. And then we got Kolga. Then we got short films. I don't know, man. Like, it's the most exciting thing, especially in comic. Like, we've superseded comics. That's what makes me so happy. Is not only that
and the video game is coming out pretty soon. Like the video game is, you're making great progress on that.
That one I'm not.
Well, but you're making
talk off.
You're making great progress on it, though.
Oh yeah, it's over a third of the way done. Almost halfway
yeah,
done.
it's really fun. Mm-hmm. It's challenging and fun, and it's cool.
It's got the sphincter factor when you're playing.
Mm-hmm. Why am I supposed to go down this corridor?
And that's the beginning. That's the beginning of what we can do. And like I said, we got 2 albums coming out probably in the next year. I know the Pentecost one's coming out like in the next year, and I know Blue Ball should be coming out in the next year too. And hey, we might be opening up a record label in the next 5 to 10 years. We have 5 other people.
Who knows, man?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So get in on this, and we're gonna be on some podcasts, and as this comes out, and we'll be pumping the same thing. Like we are throwing down the gauntlet, and I mean, I don't know. I will accept the challenge from any indie comic creator because what we're doing is way more exciting than even what Image is doing. Because I read Image, it's not great anymore. If you're not doing something of this level, this caliber, I mean, get out. And that's all I'm gonna say.
Well, it's been a good talk, man. I hope everybody will go and check out the website, get on board. Again, if you are interested in being a part of this, reach out through social media.
Sign up to the mailing list. It's right here on the site, mailing list.
Yep, right up there in the top. Join the mailing list and stay in the loop. Yeah, stay in the loop. Until next time, like, subscribe, share, comment, tell us how dumb we are, tell us how great we are, whatever you want to tell us. And until next time, this has been the GODFOE Universe Podcast. Peace.